For years, the arcade staple, beat 'em ups, were in decline. Few wanted to play them, and even less wanted to develop them. Around 20 years ago, they saw a brief resurgence. This was largely thanks to castle crashes reminding players of the simple joy they offer. Things remained slow until Streets of Rage 4 started a renaissance. Several developers wanted to offer their own spin or just attempt to recreate the original magic. At the forefront of this is Tribute Games, who developed Shredder's Revenge and the recently released Marvel Cosmic Invasion, with their latest attempt being Scott Pilgrim EX. Given their success, and the previously released Scott Pilgrim game proving the concept can work, is it another win or does it fall short? Instead of retelling the original story, Scott Pilgrim EX takes place after the events of the comic, plus the animated series Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Given the original creator, Lee O'Malley, is also involved, it certainly has potential. However, I don't think it captures said potential. The story starts with a rather simple premise. Mecha Scout appears, steals the band's instruments, and you need to run across the city to get them back. It has some interesting ideas, along with the different time periods offering exciting locales. It just doesn't have much to say. Bosses are centered more on gags and references instead of something larger like the franchise's original arc. I'm also not sure if I'd say this is a bad thing. Sure, I'd love to say this is a must for fans, and maybe those with more familiarity with the source material will see something I don't, because from where I'm standing, it feels like a pretty standard arcade game with a story to give it some cohesion. Well, as much as a story centered around time travel, fighting vegans, demons, and robots can offer, it also ends on a cliffhanger, so there might be more to the story in the future. At its core, Scott Pilgrim EX is a traditional beat-em-up game. There are light and heavy attacks, super moves, plus the ability to jump, dodge, parry, and block. Each of the characters also have their own moveset to round out the experience. I actually like that each character's role is described so I can round out a team or simply pick the player that best matches my desired play style. Where it starts to hit a roadblock is difficulty. Difficulty is in a weird place due to a variety of problems. This all starts with the difficulty select screen. There are 4 options, which range from super easy to hard. The issue is none of these modes are described. I don't actually know what makes something super easy or hard, just that the option for both exists. And even this wouldn't be a problem if the game wasn't seemingly balanced with the level system in mind. You see, every character starts at level, like, 16, and has the ability to hit 200 plus. So it's really hard to balance a game around characters that could have stats anywhere from 1 to the mid-90s. All of this goes back to the various difficulties. Instead of hard being a traditional hard mode, I think it's meant to be an optional mode that offers a more balanced experience for high-level characters. Something that makes even more sense when you unlock New Game Plus, which keeps all your items and upgrades. At least, I hope that is the case, given the experience feels poorly balanced otherwise. This is largely due to how the AI works. Instead of taking turns, it is surprisingly aggressive and happy to overwhelm by attacking both sides even on the lowest difficulty. Where it really starts to show is longer boss fights tend to flood the field with additional enemies, so you can't just beat the boss, you need to manage the field. I'd also think this was due to the game being designed around multiplayer, though the one time I tried it with 4 people on the final boss, the difficulty increased by an astronomical amount. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a completely manageable game with several tactics to make short work of most threats. I just think explaining the thought process behind the various levels would go far. Plus, not using discouraging names like super easy. They understandably have a stigma, one that can easily be avoided with something less objectionable like, story. Another thing that contributes to difficulty is the learning curve. On a basic level, the initial tutorial is just terrible. It just teaches you how to do basic combos and use items, something anyone remotely familiar with the genre could pick up in seconds. The more advanced tutorials are either hidden through an optional interaction or part of the main menu's how to play option. We'd just like to see the defensive options shown at the start, as those are arguably the most important things to learn. Similar things apply to the shops. For whatever reason, you need to purchase consumables to learn what it does. This kind of sucks. Given money is a precious and finite resource, one you don't want to waste buying something you can't even use, or spend a bunch of time grinding because mistakes were made. But it isn't all bad. One of the best and worst elements of this game are secrets. On a basic level, I think these are super cool. I love the idea of playing with someone online, seeing them do something you've never seen before, and having your mind blown. It is such a foreign concept in modern gaming, one I honestly want to preserve. For this reason, I won't get too far into specifics and instead highlight one I think stands out in a poor way. This being the Fountain's Secret. This is a really cool homage to Zelda, though it seems to serve no purpose beyond being a reference. However, there is a trick, which is to throw a coin in the water. Doing so will spawn a random weapon from any section. So, what is the issue? The fountain is in the middle of nowhere, and the overall value of said weapon is rather small. And that's kind of the thing. Every secret is either an arguably pointless novelty, something you're expected to have solved ages ago, or involves RNG. Still, I love that there's more to this world than simply running around fighting enemies. Before getting to the conclusion, I want to highlight how much love went into the world. Seriously, as a 90s kid, I see so much of my childhood in this game. There are references to Sonic, Mario, Mortal Kombat, Zelda, Double Dragon, and even some weirder ones like the Phantom of Paradise. But the truly impressive thing is none of these feel tacky, they feel like part of the world, so even if you don't get it, you're not left wondering why it exists. If nothing else, it brought a smile to my face seeing the countless cute little nods. I know this review probably comes off as rather harsh. I mean, at its core, it's a relatively average beat-em-up game with some fun references wrapped around a number of questionable choices. I think the bigger issue is timing. In the past couple of months, over 4 games released in the genre, and having played at least 3 of them, I'd put Scott Pilgrim last. Not because Scott Pilgrim is bad, but rather, they're better. And honestly, that's one of the big issues with gaming right now. There are so many options that it becomes increasingly difficult to play average. Not when other options like Absolem released recently, or tributes other games like Marvel Cosmic Invasion, or if you haven't played it, Shredder's Revenge are out there. So, for these reasons, I think it will appeal to hardcore beat 'em up and Scott Pilgrim fans, but would be a harder sell for anyone else. Hey, thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to leave a like, and for more content, please subscribe.